what we're going to do next is going to go over to our small business panel, and I have the honor of introducing Austin, that I got to know this week. So Austin, as our moderator, please come on up.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this amazing town hall meeting. I want to start by thanking NDC for putting this amazing, wonderful town hall meeting today. Faith and her team has always find time to put the most amazing people together. So that said, it's been about a year now, or a year plus, since the Stop the Asian Hate slogan started. And I think this year's theme is very, very fitting for where we are today. And the theme of this year's town hall meeting is Asian love. If I can say yes, Asian love is the theme of this conference for this year. So we thank the people that have worked tirelessly to put this together. So once again, I thank Ms. Batista and the National Diversity Coalition for this panel. We have put together, or they have put together, a distinguished experts, panels that will be telling us a little bit more what is going on with this administration and what is going on, what they're trying to do to help the small businesses in our country. Businesses and business owners knows how difficult it is to come up to gather or to get funding for their businesses. So our experts today will be letting us know what the different departments are doing to assist us. On the panel today, we have very distinguished people that have served in this administration, have been in the industry and walked around to see, and they know what they'll be telling us today. So every information we'll be getting will be very, very useful to every one of us as we move forward. From the office of the SBA Field Operation will be Jennifer Keny, and the Deputy Director at SEC, Office of Advocate for Small Business Capital Foundation, will be Sebastian. These two distinguished ladies and gentlemen will be helping us to navigate this whole day on financial acquisition. So please, I'll say, excuse me if I'll start by introducing Ms. Jennifer Keny to tell us what she's doing.
Right, I don't know how that works, but I'll just hold the microphone. Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Jennifer Kim. Thank you for the lovely introduction, and thank you, Faith and others. It's a real pleasure to be here as we celebrate National Small Business Week. Happy National Small Business Week. I was with the administrator earlier this week. She's doing a whirlwind tour, started in San Francisco. We're in Denver, and let's see, what day is today? Thursday. They went to Atlanta, Augusta, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. So it's a big week celebrating America's 32.5 million small businesses. Our theme this year for National Small Business Week is Building a Better America through Entrepreneurship. And we think it's a really great time to both kind of recognize and celebrate all that small businesses have been through over the last 2 years, and kind of look ahead to the path forward as folks continue to kind of grow and build and pivot and adapt, I guess, coming out of the pandemic. In the last about a year and a half under the Biden administration, the Small Business Administration has delivered over $450 billion in relief to small businesses, whether that was through the Paycheck Protection Program, which now everybody knows what it is, and so everybody knows what the SBA is now, even if you didn't before. Also through our Restaurant Revitalization Fund, the Shuttered Venues Program, and other programs. And I'll say that even with all the challenges last year, the kind of state of small businesses is really great. We've actually had record small business growth last year. In 2021, we saw more small business applications than any year on record since we started keeping records for that kind of thing. There were over 5.4 million small business applications last year. Again, even better than any year before the pandemic. So even if folks had to maybe kind of shrink a little last year to grow back up this year, we know that small business owners have really been innovative, and maybe they had a brick and mortar before and they started doing more deliveries, or maybe they had an online delivery before and then they were so successful they went to set up a brick and mortar. I did an event yesterday with the folks that I guess the people that own strip malls, for lack of a better term, and they said that applications for retail spaces through the roof. We've got more and more people looking for places to put their small businesses. So it's a really exciting time, and it's a really exciting time for the Small Business Administration as we work to continue our relationship with all the folks that learned about us through the pandemic. So we have kind of all the other stuff we normally try to do when there's not a pandemic going on, our regular kind of counseling and resource programs that we have, our loan programs that we work with, different lenders across the country. So we're really excited to kind of continue forward, and under the leadership of Administrator Guzman, I'm really proud to serve in one of the most diverse administrations ever. I oversee our 10 regions, which include 10 regional administrators and 68 district offices. Our 10 regional administrators are 70% people of color and 50% women. And it's nice to be celebrating Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Month. I don't think we did it on purpose, but not only am I the first Asian American to serve in this position as Associate Administrator, we have soon to be 3 ANHPI regional administrators as well. So if you are in Region 10, which is the kind of Pacific Northwest and Alaska, Region 5, which is the Midwest, and our incoming Region 8 administrator who starts in, I think, 2 weeks, which is the kind of Rocky Mountain, Colorado, Wyoming region, are all part of the ANHPI family. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm excited to be on this panel.
Next, let's welcome Deputy Director Sebastian Gomez to tell us what they're doing at the SEC. Assistant.
Good morning. I'm Sebastian Gomez from the Office of the Advocate for Small Business Capital Formation at the SEC, an office that has a mighty long name, but we think is in part due to the big mission of the office. I want to thank Faith and NDC for inviting me today. It's truly an honor to participate in today's presentation and speak some more about what the office is doing during the panel. Our office is a relatively new office. It was created by a bipartisan act of Congress in 2016. For those of you here in Washington, you know that when there's a bipartisan act, it means that there's a real need for something. And the legislation that created our office got almost unanimous support from Congress. The office is tasked with advancing the interests of small businesses and their investors, with a particular focus on the challenges faced by women and minority-owned businesses, businesses located in natural disaster areas, and businesses located in rural areas. The office is a relative startup. We began operations in 2019, and I think of the office as having a two-way mission. On the one hand, we have an outward-facing mission of the office. We work to provide outreach to small businesses and their investors across the country in order to understand what their challenges are. And then the inward part of the role of the office, which is bringing that feedback and sharing it with both the Commission at the Securities and Exchange Commission and Congress, because we report both to the Commission and to congressional committees, and share with them what some of those challenges are and make policy recommendations in order to try to address some of those challenges. I'm delighted to be here today and take part of this panel. So without holding you more, I'd love to turn it back to the panel so that we can get started. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I will be adding 2 other distinguished business owners to this panel. Let me invite Mr. Keny Chang of Talino Lab, and Mrs. Dokmai Webster from Povita Point LLC. Thank you. I'll be handing the mic back again to Jennifer to tell us a little bit more about what you're doing, because we all know that it's very, very tough to navigate the applications and to navigate all the paperwork whenever we're looking for how to start a business or how to do some get funding for our business. So, Jennifer.
Thank you. Yes, I'd love to just tell a little bit more for folks that might not be as familiar with the SBA. Again, I think we were kind of a little sleepy agency, but now that we've kind of come through the pandemic and handled so much relief, people at least know that we've done PPP. But if you go to SBA.gov, you can find your closest district office and our network of over 1,400 resource partners. So the SBA is really lucky that we have such great partnerships out there, which include SBDC, Small Business Development Centers, as well as Women's Business Centers. And these are partners of ours that can help with counseling, with training. I was at an SBDC earlier this week that actually had ESL classes as well for entrepreneurs and business owners. They can do things like help you get your financials in order, teach you QuickBooks, help you write a business plan. So wherever you kind of are on your small business journey, there is hopefully a resource partner out there or one of our staff at the SBA that can help you on your journey. We also have a great partner called SCORE, which is a network of I think both retired and some active business leaders that can serve as mentors to you as you are on your small business journey. But the kind of bread and butter of what we do through our great staff at the SBA offices, and again, they've been through a lot over the last couple of years, so if you see them, thank them for all their hard work during the pandemic. But we have, great staff that can either connect you to one of those resource partners or to a lender. So we have a lot of great programs, the most common of which, if you Google them, are our 7A or 504 loan loan programs. And, they are, between the two of them, you can kind of get a loan to cover anything your business might need. And both President Biden and Administrator Guzman at the SBA have made equity a really big focus of our work. Even just starting the pandemic, some of these relief programs started in the previous administration, but when President Biden took over, realized that it was really the kind of bigger of the small businesses that were receiving the aid, and it wasn't really reaching underserved communities, wasn't really reaching the smaller of the small businesses. So have done a lot, just starting on day one to kind of reach folks that might not know about it as easily, might not have the kind of accountant on hand to do all the paperwork for you and just kind of take care of it. One of the new programs we started through the American Rescue Plan is called Community Navigators, which I think some of our partners are going to be here later today. But it's really modeled after, if folks are familiar at all with the kind of Promotores program in the Latino community to do health outreach. So the whole idea there is we're government, and sometimes people don't like us, or people don't trust us, or they're not as connected to government or structures or kind of the infrastructure there. So the whole idea is partner with organizations that are trusted members in underserved communities to kind of help deliver the message with us. So we've provided grants to many organizations, including USPAC and National ACE, the Asian American Chamber. So, partnering with organizations, again, that are already in the communities that we want to do better at reaching. And we'll try to, but again, we're not always the best messengers. So working with those partnerships and asking, folks like you all to help us spread the word is one we were really trying to kind of expand our reach and become more accessible as an agency.
Thank you, Jennifer. This is amazing to know that we have all this opportunity to talk to experts like you in our communities. Thank you very much. Next will be Mr. Sebastian to tell us again what they are doing for us in the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. I wanted to start a little bit by sharing how we were thinking about launching this office when the office launched. It was actually a fantastic opportunity within the government to create something new and maybe start from a different perspective than traditionally how the government starts new offices within the building. So the first thing that we set forth to do ourselves is, as an office that is responsible for making policy recommendations, we made clear that it was important for our policy recommendations to be based on data. So it's very important for us to have data as the foundation for those policies. It's not what Sebastian thinks that's important or what the challenges are based on Sebastian's perspective. It's based on the data that we are observing, and it's important for us to ground all of the policy recommendations on data. Second of all, as we were thinking about setting up this office and how do we gather the data, how do we gather the feedback, it was very clear to us that there's a number of groups that have access to the SEC. They know how to get into the door. They have usually a group of lobbyists that can get them into meetings. So for us, it was important to actually do the outreach ourselves to groups that probably never heard of the SEC, or they thought of the SEC as the Southeastern Conference because they were thinking of football. But the reality was, it was very important for us to actually reach out to those communities and make sure that we are hearing directly from them. So before COVID, we actually would travel the country and go to different events throughout the country in order to actually hear directly from the communities. We host a small business forum every year annually, and we actually took that forum on the road in order to actually get the perspectives from different locations. Since COVID, we've actually switched to a virtual environment. And as someone who always thinks about it from the most positive perspective, COVID had a tremendous impact, and I know we'll talk some more about it, very negative impact on small businesses. From the standpoint of outreach, the ability to transition to a virtual type setting allow us to reach even more, because in the same day, we're able to be in one part of the country. In the afternoon, we're able to do an event in a different part of the country, something that we were not able to do before when we were in person. But it's extremely important from our perspective to get feedback, and I love events like this one because I want to make connections in order to be able to get that feedback in order to inform our policies.
Thank you, Sebastian. I've been in business for some time now, but you made it clear to me that $250 million still falls under the small business owner loan. So thank you for that education. Thank you. We all know what the small business owners experience. So sitting to my right is two people that can actually tell us how it is to be small business owner and how they've been able to navigate all the paperwork that you guys give to us to fill. So to my left, I'll be handing the phone to Ms. Dokmai to tell us what.
Hi, I'm Dokmai Webster, and I am the founder and CEO of Pivotal Point, LLC. We're based here in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area in Falls Church, Virginia, and we work mainly with the federal government. We do have some commercial customers as well in IT and telecommunications integration work, and anything else that the government, asks us to do, conference management, cable installation. Actually, most of our work is through cable installation, inside plant, outside plant, telecommunications, IT integration work, such as VoIP, cloud migration, SharePoint migration, so anything IT. We've been in business started my business in 2008, and right during the recession, we got lucky. I think I got lucky, and it's through hard work, blood, sweat, and tear, and determination to not fail, basically. And a lot of small businesses that survive have that model. However, with COVID in the past 2.5 years, it's been challenging. It really has. And no matter, in some cases, whether you have a lot of determination and not wanting to fail, some do, and it's unfortunate. I have a lot to share, and I have a lot of things that I want to provide to you so that you, as you go through and make your policies, can have, firsthand information in terms of real businesses that are not being represented by lobbyists. We are here doing, day-to-day survival, and it's tough out there. So, But I do want to say thank you to the SBA because your paperwork and the process has actually improved. We're an 8A, so we go through the annual 8A process, and that has gotten a lot better as well. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb. Deputy Director Gomez said they've been trying to bring technology into what they do at their office these days. So I would like Mr. Keny to tell us a little bit more about what he and his team are doing to make it easier to integrate technology into what your office is doing. Keny.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Keny Chang. I'm with Talino Ventures. So Talino Ventures is a venture studio, what we so-called nowadays fintech company. And I just wanted to clarify what fintech means. A lot of people think it's just, another technology company. Yes, it's another technology company, but we come with a mission, right? I've been 20 years in banking business as a corporate employee, and there's always some entrepreneurship in any one of us, including myself. But it took me 20 years to realize I want to do something that make things easier for consumers, right? In the past, when I was doing loans for even for myself, I had to go through a lot of paperwork, and after paperwork, then I have to wait for a month to get the paperwork to be in process and finally get reviewed and approved. So it kind of hit me that, why not make that easier? And I think that's what all fintech mission is. It's not another technology that, some of the regional lenders would just put a website and say, hey, I'm a fintech. No. I think fintech come with the mission is to make the whole process easier. How I can make the process through technology faster and more affordable as well. Not the expensive couple $1 million that, Chase is spending, but, our mission is to make it affordable. And that way, consumers can process it, can feel comfortable. And I think one of the, very successful stories that ESDIAC mentioned, the PPP. I mean, with COVID, in the past, even though we have an online website with the banks and lenders, but still paperwork again, right, and takes weeks. But now with fintech, we capture those information and we automate that processing, right? And that's what Talino does, right? We make the software, but not just the software digitally, but also the processing, including the AI into it, right? And so that, instead of month, and I'm not kidding, it could take months for a simple mortgage to get approved, but now it could take just days. In 2 days, the whole process, you get a pre-approval. And, if we make it even, a little better, in a single same day, you get a pre-approval right away. And that's what we do, right? We will make the whole process quicker, faster, and more accurate. I mean, there's always human errors. Software, the same thing, but, our error are minimized, based on numbers, again, data, and captured data that we receive so that, it's convenience for everybody. And I think that's what, Talino's mission is as well, is to build softwares, and it's really a venture studio. So we see a lot of people with ideas, and that's what we want, to see ideas in technology, in financial industry, what these ideas can turn into, and we can build it and hopefully model it and see how that thing will benefit the consumers and the communities. And at the same time, with this technology, you have better outreach, right? As Mr. Gomez has mentioned, before pandemic, you have to go city by city. There's no way you're going to be able to reach, East Coast and West Coast in a single day. But with pandemic and technology, that made it happen, right? And we are hoping that the technology will continue to evolve, and same thing, right? Be able to reach out the communities, broader, not just LA or DC, but actually all the way in Boston, all the way south to Florida or Texas. Thank you.
Deputy Director. Can you tell us what your office is doing to add to this information? Because we know it's not easy, but I know your office is working on something special and to make it easy for us to.
Yes, I'll be delighted. And by the way, now that I did my introductions, and maybe I'll jump into a little more controversial topics, I'll give the standard disclaimer that all SEC staff needs to give, which the views that I expressed today, of course, are my own personal views and may not represent the views of their commission or the staff at the SEC. So now I'm free to actually tell you how I feel about it. COVID had a tremendous negative impact on small businesses, and there's no doubt about it. I'm sure all of you have either experienced it directly or know someone who's experienced it directly. And unfortunately, that negative impact was not spread evenly across the population of small businesses. Women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses were disproportionately impacted by COVID. We put together an annual report every year that we deliver to Congress. It has a lot of data. I encourage everyone to take a look at that annual report because it actually quantifies what is happening and how serious of an impact it had on those women and minority-owned businesses. So we have to take that and recognize that more needs to be done in order to help those small businesses. So one of the things that historically we've heard and we continue to hear is that bridging that gap between the access to capital and understanding the different pathways to capital is extremely important and the number one challenge for small businesses that are trying to access capital. The reality is the pathways to capital that the SEC affords are complex. There is a number of different options to access capital. A lot of them speak with acronyms, have different requirements, and it's very difficult for small businesses that are busy 120% of their day trying to keep their business alive to also become experts on those federal securities laws. So the one thing that we did and we set forth to do last year was to provide educational resources in order to demystify that process and make it easier for small businesses to actually understand the different pathways to get to access to capital. I want to encourage everyone in the program, for today's program, there's a number of hyperlinks under my bio to different resources that we put together. Capital Raising Hub is the hub for resources for small businesses that are looking for education. And just to give you a little bit of a preview of the stuff that we put out there, we put a glossary that we call Cutting Through the Jargon. There's just so many different acronyms and shorthand for regulations that we actually set forth a list of what those are. And in very plain language, we try to describe what it is that they mean so that a small business, as they're going to a pitch meeting or they're going to look to try to access capital, they have an opportunity to think about and understand what that language is. We also often get a question about which of the pathways to access capital is the best for me. And that is the type of question that usually a small business would have that conversation with an attorney to try to help them understand what's the best pathway to capital. But the reality is, when you are actually trying to access capital, to have to pay several $100s an hour for an attorney to tell you what the different pathways are, it's actually going the wrong way. It's actually costing more money. So what this tool does is ask 7 simple questions. And based on those 7 simple questions, then we provide a list of what the potential pathways may be that best fit your needs for capital, based on how much money you need, based on who your potential pool of investors may be. You answer those questions, and we're going to provide as an answer to those resources, we're going to provide what will be the potential pathway that may best fit your business. May you need to access a lawyer at some point? Perhaps. It may be that at some point you will have to reach out to that lawyer, but instead of asking for that lawyer to pay that lawyer for just some basic understanding of the federal securities laws, this tool will give you the tools that you would need in order to go to that lawyer and say, look, I've done my research. I think the best path for me to access capital is the following because of this reasons. I've read about it. Could you now help me get that capital as opposed to paying for what I call the Securities 101? So we have provided that Securities 101. I encourage everyone to take a look at those resources, and to the extent that you have feedback on areas where we could provide additional resources, please reach out to us. We very much would like to hear about that.
Jennifer, what are you and your team doing to?
Well, I kind of want to check out this website actually too, so I'm glad to see it up here. So yeah, a few things to add, I guess. So in addition to working with partners to reach out to folks that are, more trusted messengers in the community, we're doing a number of things to try and, bring the SBA into 2022 and beyond, I guess. So one thing we're working to upgrade right now is our lender match portal, which basically does what it says, helping to match borrowers to lenders. We're working on, Lender Match 2.0 to make it easier and more streamlined to figure out, what lender in your area could, help you with a loan. The SBA, we work with lenders to provide loans to folks that might otherwise be considered unbankable or less bankable, I suppose. So, the loans that I mentioned earlier, 7A and 504, are typically kind of longer-term, lower interest rate loans that are backed by the federal government. And there's a lot of famous companies, actually, that have started with the help of SBA assistance. Apple, Nike, Whole Foods, Build-A-Bear is one of my favorite examples if people are still out there buying Build-A-Bear. So, really kind of iconic American companies that, we're not taking all the credit for, but they did, help to grow with the start of SBA. So, your business could be the next Build-A-Bear, right, with SBA assistance. So that's one program. We also have launched a new public-private partnership called the SBA Small Business Digital Alliance a few months ago to help, help our small businesses digitize themselves as well as us, right? So I think a lot of folks definitely kind of were forced to dip into more digital tools during the pandemic. We want to kind of continue that and provide resources. Google, one of our partners, announced earlier this week that they are providing additional kind of digital training to small businesses for free and certification. So that's a very cool program. For us, though, I will say, we had to scale up tremendously during the pandemic, and it definitely kind of tested our own digital capacity. So, I wish we maybe had gone a little more digital earlier, but we're kind of quickly catching up and working to, make sure that we are streamlining our systems as well. So kind of, one side can talk to the other side. Sometimes our COVID EIDL program is an example where, that was kind of hosted by us, but also relied on the IRS to provide information in a lot of cases, and that was kind of a lesson we kind of learned from, like, okay, these systems maybe could work together a little bit better. So, there's a lot of lessons learned, I think, because we also had to adapt just like small businesses did over the last few years, and, Administrator Guzman is definitely, kind of laser focused actually on technology and how to just make things more easy and accessible. She's a small business owner herself. She comes from a small business family, so she kind of knows firsthand, what those challenges are. I want to say another word about language access. During the pandemic, we were fortunate enough through the CARES Act to get additional funding to be able to translate our materials into over 20 languages, which was really great. We don't have that CARES Act money anymore, so we are kind of trying to figure out how can we continue that, because it shouldn't just be like a one-time thing, right? And, I think translating into like one additional language is one thing, but as we all know in this room, the kind of Asian diaspora is filled with many, many languages, and that's just one of the many barriers that Asian American small business owners face that we want to, just make sure that's just like a given. So we're working on that as well. So I don't know. So hopefully that answered the whole question. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the amazing information we're getting. Dokmai and Ken, what would you guys tell somebody in our community today that's interested in starting business? After hearing everything and what you guys are doing, can you please tell somebody how to step into this business ownership?
It is very, very tough, but you have to have a passion for it. You have to believe in yourself and never accept no for an answer and just keep going back, going back, going back. One of the things I want to share with you, and this information actually was from the SBA, is that the number of small businesses that get started, only 1/2 of those small businesses that got started survive 5 years. 1/3 of those businesses survive 10 years. So what we want to do, my goal, I'm passionate about small businesses and helping small businesses to achieve and be successful, is that we need to find a way to help small business to sustain and grow and stay in business. So you have this vicious cycle of businesses starting their, people starting their own businesses and realize, gosh, you know what, this is hard, and it is hard. There are many times that I wanted to just throw in the towel, but then I think about, why did I start this business? Why did I start my business? And that's something that you're going to have to, ask yourself and say, yes, this is worth, why I started this business is worth for me to continue to go forward. There's so much rewards in having your own business and being able to give people jobs and being able to develop those individuals that most companies probably won't even give them an opportunity because they don't have the background, they don't want to invest in developing those individuals. So all of that, you have to really take a look at, why did I start my business? It's more than just having a business. It's about community. It's about developing and helping people grow that otherwise would not have the opportunity to have a good job to support their family and themselves. So all of that comes into play for me. So to me, if you want to start your business, really, really understand why you want to start your business and keep remembering that to keep you going, because there are going to be times and a lot of days where you just want to give up. You can't.
Sure. Thank you, Dokmai. I think, just like I mentioned earlier, there's always some entrepreneurship within all of us. It's just, when you realize how, this is what I'm going to do. And when you realize this is what you want to do, you start a business, follow your dreams. Just like we always say, America is the land of the dreams. So follow your dreams, it will happen. And, I appreciate it now with the, after COVID and with the technology, now a lot of things become more accessible for everybody who wants to start a business, right? You can search SBA, which is great. They thank you for improving a lot of their website information, and people can go in and really understand. I mean, excuse me. I think it's important to educate yourself. I think, as mentioned earlier, previous panels, is educate yourself on the home ownership, on how different home mortgages, but as well on the small businesses, right? What do I need to start a business? Do I need a business insurance? Do I need a bank account? Where do I get a capital? Do I do a debt, or do I do a equity capital? All these kind of questions is now easily accessible to different websites, right? And accessing those information is critical. Once you have those information, then you can then decide which route you want to go, and seek for advice. Right? When I first started, same thing. I spent kind of some money to seek advice for legal counsels. How do I start? Do I do an LLC? Do I do an incorporation? What are my tax consequences and all different type of entities? So all that kind of information can now is really available to you free of charge. Right? Just educate yourself and utilize the technology. I think that's what is out there. And really, like I mentioned, a lot of companies, technology companies, they come with that mission, right, to provide those tools to help you, small businesses or new entrepreneurs, to really learn, do it yourself, and actually, be faster if you do it yourself rather than, asking around and more questions. And this person might have to send you to the other person because they only have limited information. But you yourself need to educate yourself.
Very much, Keny. I don't know if we have any questions from the audience. Thank you, Ms. Bay.
Yeah. No, I just want to commend SBA. We used to call SBA LBA, Large Business Association, but things have really changed. In fact, it took us 3 years to become an SBA intermediary, but with pandemic, everything got expedited, and now we even got a grant of $500,000 and to do loss loan reserve and small dollar loans. So encouragement more for SBA. The matching, that's really badly needed. A lot of people still don't know that SBA can really do small business loans, and they always think that you guys are the one giving the loans and that they have to go to the approved lenders. More of that, and I think if you can, like what Ocwen was doing, they were really doing outreach. I mean, I love it because that's the only way people will know, right? I mean, most people do not know these resources, especially the immigrants. I'm encouraging SBA do the same thing, partnering with different CDFIs, SBA lender. Like this, and this is why we're doing this town hall, and people watching the Zoom, and we're going to share it later on. There's so much available resources for SBA right now, and the interest is very, very low. I mean, we're doing $2,000 loan, and rather than going to payday lenders, but it's so hard for us to do that marketing because we can only do so much, right? We're grossly underfunded, we're nonprofit, so somehow we got to allow capacity building on that grants, and also encouraging the SBA lenders that why don't you allocate truly like an innovative approach. If you want to reach those people, you got to have like the technology, and with using Talino, we can now actually do $50 million worth of loans, and that's what we're going to be doing. And with Dokmai, I mean, it is so sad that you know how hardworking she is just by looking at her, but yet the business is not going up. So how can we encourage more on supplier diversity to use minority women-owned? I know probably they cannot do the whole job, but encourage them to be the second-tier or third-tier supplier. And let's have a goal, right? We got to have a goal, otherwise it's not going to happen. The California Public Utilities Commission, all the IOUs, the investor-owned property, investor-owned utilities, they're doing 45%, 41% of their procurement on minority-owned businesses. The federal governments can do the same thing. If, bring it up to the administrator, I mean, we try to meet with them, but also coming from you guys, the one encouraging them. Kim, you can make a big difference. And Sebastian, thank you for this small business capital formation. It's badly needed. You don't know how much we learned from that last meeting we had the other day. And National Diversity Coalition is going to do more of this. And with this Asian network that we're going to be doing, I told Sebastian, that presentation is too long. People will not really like it, will go over their head. And, my chief of staff here, daughter, if it's below 1 minute, she's not going to watch it. So we're going to see if we can do a 7 seconds, 10 seconds type of outreach, and that's what we're going to be here for. Thank you.
have a question in the audience.
I just add something. Your comment made me think of a couple things. Actually, Dokmai, your comment also made me think of, as much as we are trying to do better, I just want to actually add something to what you said, which is that, and what Sebastian also mentioned, in the last, I think, 5 years, only 44% of smaller firms actually received financing from a bank. I met with a business owner the other day, and I asked her, where'd you get your first loan from? And she said, my mother-in-law. So I think that is, kind of more common. Folks, and she was an immigrant from Argentina. She kind of came to the U.S. with like $300 in her backpack, and now actually runs a very successful business. But she was like, if not for the SBA's programs, I wouldn't have got here, and she kind of wished she had known about us earlier, right? So again, I wish we had the marketing budget that a Nike or a Google has. We don't, unfortunately. The SBA doesn't have like a chief marketing officer or whatever. So, we're trying to do as best we can with the resources that we have. Small businesses these days aren't even really on Facebook anymore. People are on like Instagram and other places, and so we're trying to, keep up and kind of go to where the people are at. But again, that's why we're also looking to kind of, form partnerships to reach more people and try and, expand our reach that way. But we're always trying to reach more people.
Yeah. Can I just, and this would be for the benefit of, Sebastian as well. So I read and speak English very well, but there are a lot of immigrants or other small business owners that do not. I think what will be helpful, because sometimes I get overwhelmed with all the paperwork that I have to submit, just the reporting. I mean, just being on an AA program or a certified veteran-owned small business. So I never actually reach out to or even look at the SBA to obtain loans or even a line of credit. I go through an institution. It was overwhelming for me. I can just imagine how overwhelming it is for individuals that, English is a second language. And I think that I believe that if the government is serious about helping small businesses, they really need to put more resources into reaching those communities, and maybe through the churches, the different communities, small associations, not the large associations, because they're not really in for the members, but the smaller associations such as, Association of Faith and, other things, the local association that really promote and look out for small businesses or individuals. That, I think, is really, really important, and you need to understand that as well. And, to me, it's resources. I mean, government needs to do more. And especially, I think today, everybody says, well, small businesses is the backbone of our economy. Well, I'll tell you what, the small businesses are decreasing, and we just need, your help. We need better policies. We need people in the government, the policymakers that understand the difficulties and really care and get feedback from people like me and other small businesses that are living the day-to-day, problems, not from lobbyists. They don't know.
Thank you very much, Dad.
Dokmai, first of all, I want to echo the importance of equity and accessibility to languages. I think it's extremely important and an area where the government, including the SEC, can do a lot more. Faith, to your point about vendor outreach, I think that it's extremely important. At the SEC, 38% of all the contracts go to minority-based businesses. And the plug that I wanted to provide here is the SEC, through the Office of Minority and Women Inclusion, holds a monthly meeting for new vendors who would like to do business with the SEC. It gives an opportunity to meet with senior leadership who's actually doing the acquisition. So for any small business that is interested in doing work with the SEC, please check out the page for the Office of Minority and Women Inclusion at the SEC and sign up for one of those monthly sessions to get to know the leadership.
Thank you very much, Sebastian. I don't know if we still have time for one more question from the audience.
Hi. Definitely no lack of good ideas. A lack of capital is the reason why most small businesses fail. So, scenario, client comes to me, I need money. I said, go to the SBA. They come back to me and said, but I need collateral. So what's the point of collateral? You need money, you don't have collateral. So do they still need collateral now? And number two, if a company might be owned by a non-minority, but 99% of their manufacturing employees are Latinos, Asians, so wouldn't that qualify as a minority-type business? So those are my two questions.
Good questions. I hate to give answers in absolute, so I'm going to do a little bit of a cop-out here, but it's definitely, I think, a case-by-case basis. We look at a lot of factors when folks are, looking for capital. And again, we work to connect folks with lenders and help them prepare for, those requirements and whatnot. So I just, encourage folks to, work with their local SBA folks. On the second question, typically we look at ownership, so that is, how businesses get defined. I don't know, honestly, if there is a loophole for that, so I can look at that, check it out, and get back to you. But again, it's typically on the ownership level.
Anything you want to add to that, Sebastian?
Only 6% of small businesses actually go and raise equity. And there's different reasons for that. I think it's very important to try to look at the different options that small businesses have to raise capital. But keep in mind that equity is an option, and at this point, only about 6% of small businesses look at equity as an option. So keep that in mind. I don't have the question from Faith was, is there a goal to increase that? I don't have a particular focus on a number, because the important thing is for small business to thrive, and there's a lot of small businesses that thrive through SBA programs or because they have the revenues to actually continue to grow. So I think that there's businesses for which a debt financing is the best path forward. There's businesses in which they generate enough revenue that they're able to survive. The important thing for any business that is looking to raise equity capital is to keep in mind that at that point, you are giving up control over your business. It's no longer you the one that gets to make all the decisions, because you have outside stakeholders that you are that are taking a part ownership in your company. So for those businesses that are considering equity, they have to keep in mind that they're going to have to share their financial statements. They're going to have to share some pretty sensitive internal information to those shareholders. So it's important to think about different options and decide what's the best to them. So I don't think that there's a specific number, that it's the right number. It's just what is it that works for that small business and allows that small business to continue to grow and create jobs.
Thank you. This will be concluded.
I'd like to just chip in some of the answers. There are actually different programs through different lenders for small businesses that doesn't necessarily ask for collateral, but is rely on the ownership credit, and also they are more creative, and I think that's what a lot of now the so-called fintech company, the ours, is looking for. So we not just look on the traditional credit, we add more references to the traditional credit, so we can see a broader ownership and how that owners can be credible and providing working capital without that collateral. So there are, you just have to, like I said, educate yourself, look around. Actually, there's a lot of lenders out there through online specifically, actually, that because their cost is lower, so they don't have a brick and mortar, but they are offering that. Now I think with NAAC, as well. We'll be offering small business loans without collateral, but we do factor in other considerations on top of your credit and other resources that you might have that could package together and allow you to give some sort of a loan or debt.
Add one more thing to that. Thank you. So yes, there are a number of factors, and I should also say from an equity perspective, SBA is also looking at, credit scores. This is Jen Kim personal. Credit scores are a bit racist, and can be not equitable throughout communities. So we are also looking at, making sure, and especially in our programs that, serve kind of lower income communities, what are the other kind of pieces of the pie that we can look at to make sure that, kind of the smallest of the small and even folks as they're getting started can access capital. So thank you for adding that as well.
Thank you very much. And thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Deb. To conclusion, our town hall meeting for today. Again, I want to thank NDC and the team for the great job they've done. Thank you very much, everybody.